As the offseason goes on, it seems like the national pundits are becoming more and more optimistic about the 49ers. Should they? What's up? Good morning. Welcome to the Best 49ers show. That's Ryan G. Hensley. I'm Grant Cohn. Today's show is brought to you by Factor. Summer's here. More sun, more light, more time to do all the things that make summer so special, which isn't cooking, even though Ryan's really good at cooking and I am as well, because we're very in touch with our feminine sides. We're well-rounded Renaissance men, but sometimes we need Factor because we only got 2 minutes. And Factor's chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals are ready to go in just 2 minutes, taking the hassle out of eating well. So get started at factormeals.com/cone50off and use code cone50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. This is a huge deal because not only is it good food, but it's cheap. And with this code that I'm giving you, that's code cone50off at factormeals.com/cone50off.
Wait a minute.
All right.
50 off?
So that's the deal there.
50 off.
You feel me? That's a good deal.
That's hella good.
Hella good. All right. So we're 3 weeks away, about 2.5. And ESPN came out with a ranking today. It seems like nothing's happening. And every day as nothing happens, people feel a little bit better about the 49ers. Like, you know what? They haven't lost someone like Dre Greenlaw in a month. That's pretty good. So Christian McCaffrey, he hasn't gotten hurt in a while. Now he's fallen from number 1 in the ESPN running back rankings, which is where he was last year, to number 5. So here are the ESPN top 10 running back rankings. And what they did is Jeremy Fowler polled executives, scouts, and coaches. So this is supposed to be as scientific as it gets. It's not like he just asked ChatGPT, although that might be even more scientific. So number 1, Saquon Barkley. Number 2, Derrick Henry. Number 3, Jahmyr Gibbs. Number 4, Bijan Robinson. And number 5, Christian McCaffrey. His highest ranking from the unnamed voters was number 3, and his lowest was unranked entirely. How do you feel?
Interesting. I did look to see who ChatGPT has their best running back. It is Barkley. So you know,
There you go.
factual basis. No, man, I think it's pretty fair considering he barely played last year, right? If Christian McCaffrey was 100% healthy, Christian McCaffrey, he's as good as any running back in the league, if not, maybe the best, second best. 5's probably more than fair considering what happened last year with him, because we really don't know what he's going to look. Some people said he fell off, and some people said that. Some people said he lost a step or two. I don't know, man. It's hard at this point, July 7th, to say whether I agree or disagree. I think it's fair. I mean, going from the offensive player of the year to number 5 after a year where you barely played and you're had calf injuries on both legs, I think that's more than fair. It doesn't piss me off. I don't think he deserves to be higher. I don't think he deserves to be lower. As of right now, we're gonna have to see.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it as like deserving what he's done in his career, I guess 5 is fair. But I think if you look at it as a projection, it seems to me like a little generous based on his name and what he's accomplished in the past. Because 5th, I mean, I would kind of be surprised, honestly, if he had the 5th most yards from scrimmage, if he was top 5 in yards from scrimmage among running backs this year or touchdowns. He could be top 10 if he stays healthy, but I just would be surprised. Like that last year, the top 5 guys in yards from scrimmage, like number 1 was Barkley at almost 2,300 yards. Number 2 was Derrick Henry at 2,100. 3 was Gibbs at 1,900. Bijan Robinson had almost 1,900. Like prime McCaffrey could hit those numbers. And everyone's talking about like, well, if he's healthy. I don't even think that's the biggest issue. I think it's his age. I mean, 29 is the number. And for running backs, that's kind of a rough number most of the time. I think people look at Derrick Henry and they're like, well, age ain't nothing but a number for running backs. But that's Derrick Henry. He's one of the greatest of all time. Christian is he's built different.
Built different. If Christian McCaffrey was healthy, would you be surprised if he was in the top 5?
I would be surprised. That's what I'm saying. Like, let's say he plays 16 games. I still think tops he gets to like 1,500 yards from scrimmage, which would put him maybe in the top 10. I mean, maybe like his efficiency would be top 5, but I just feel like if things are going right for him this year, they're not going to use him as much as they did in the past. He's going to split time a little bit more. Garendo will be a factor, and he just won't have those numbers. Like I'm looking at Marshall Faulk. Marshall Faulk was a very similar player, great player. And from 25 to 28, he was all pro 1 or 2. He was in the MVP. He was an MVP. And then at 29, his numbers just fell back a little bit. He went from 2,100 yards and 21 touchdowns to 1,410 touchdowns. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's sort of what happens to Christian at this stage of his career. Like, still good if healthy, but I don't know about the 5th best running back in the league. Maybe the 10th.
To me, based on history, if he is healthy, and what Kyle does with running back, if Christian McCaffrey is healthy, in my opinion, if Christian McCaffrey is healthy, he'll easily be top 5 because of the way Kyle has used him in the past. Now, sounds like to me, you're thinking that Kyle will learn from his past mistakes and he'll start doing running back by committee a little bit more than he has in the past. And that would be fantastic. I would rather have a healthy Christian McCaffrey in the playoffs, not top 5 in yards, and Kyle doing what you're talking about. I just don't know if I believe it if he's healthy.
Do you think Christian McCaffrey's going to have more yards from scrimmage than Josh Jacobs this year?
Where's Josh now?
He's in Green Bay. He's 27. There's also Jonathan Taylor. He's 26.
If he's healthy, yes, I do.
Okay.
Because I think Kyle will use
You gotta lean on him
till he. That's what he does. Now, I hope I'm wrong. Honestly, I hope you're right. I hope Kyle learned from that. Like, hey, Chris is 29. Let's use him sparingly. Let's do running back by committee. I just don't. The best way to tell the future is by looking at the past. That's not what Kyle has done with Christian.
So in Jeremy Fowler's article, we'll move on in a second. He mentioned like that Christian's in a very special group of running backs, guys who have, at least 4 seasons of 1,800 yards from scrimmage and 10 touchdowns, at least 4 seasons. So it's Christian, Walter Payton, LaDainian Tomlinson, Emmitt Smith. There might be one more. Hold on. That's it. Oh, Marshall Faulk. So Christian McCaffrey, Tomlinson, Marshall Faulk, Emmitt Smith, Walter Payton. It's a really great list. And I think that kind of, he used it as reason to feel like McCaffrey could bounce back. He's so special. If you look at all those running backs, Walter Payton is the only one who had one of those years after 28. And he did it a couple of times in his 30s, which is why he's arguably one of the greatest running backs of all time. I just would be surprised if McCaffrey has a bounce back like that. If he does, and he has an incredible 29, 30 year old season, then you're talking about Hall of Fame with this guy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the thing about Christian, man, is he's had a long, extensive injury history throughout his career with the Panthers. But he's also as good as anybody in the NFL, in my opinion, at taking care of his body. Like, he is meticulous at it. So Christian is like, this whole season, I feel like, based on Christian's health. It's so hard to predict because he has an injury history, but he's also kind of guy to just ridiculously take care of his body, like the Tom Brady of running backs. So it's hard to know. And then you look at what Kyle's done with him in the past; he's ran him into the ground. Yeah. And so, is he going to do that again, or is he going to switch it up? It's like one of the hardest things for me to predict coming into the season. What's going to happen?
There are running backs who are effective or borderline dominant in their 30s. Walter Payton was 1. Derrick Henry is 2. Frank Gore was 3. Even particularly in his early 30s, late 20s. Is Christian McCaffrey going to be one of those type of running backs? It seems like they're outliers. They're the exception. And again, you could bring up examples. Maybe I'm missing someone, but usually the ones who are dominant into their late 20s, early 30s can break tackles, are very powerful. I'm thinking Derrick Henry, Walter Payton. They can afford to lose a step and still be dominant. I'm not sure that Christian McCaffrey can afford to lose a step. And I feel like that's sort of what we saw last year. Maybe he'll get that step back this year. That's the way I look at it.
We'll see. It's so like I said, man, I can't call it, brother. Like there's so many different variables and factors when it comes to Christian. Real quick, Grant, am I sounding okay? Everyone's telling me in the chat I sound messed up. My mic and my
You
StreamYard was
sound
giving me
fine to me,
okay.
honestly.
All right. All right, good.
I don't
It's
know.
just
If I'll be listening, but you're cutting out. I don't know. I'll listen. You sound pretty good to me.
all right.
I had a
My
really
bad.
great point I wanted to make about
And
Christian
I just
McCaffrey right
ruined
now.
it. That's what I do. Ruined your point. Thanks, Tommy. You ruined the whole show. Let's just end it right here. We'll come back another day.
It's such an important point to make before we cut out. That's all right. I'll come back to it.
StreamYard's been giving me trash all morning, guys. So I think it's StreamYard. If it's an issue.
All right, let's move on to defense. So, I have the utmost respect for Robert Saleh. I think most people do. I think he's pretty much a consensus top 5 defensive coordinator in the league. And so all the changes he's doing, all the creative choices he's making to this defense, I think people are pretty much giving him the benefit of the doubt until further notice. There's one big decision he's making so far that I think people don't want to talk about it because it's Saleh, but is a head scratcher. The decision to move Lenore out of the slot. It's a big decision. He played a lot of time in the slot the last couple of years, and he was great in the slot. Last year, according to Pro Football Focus, he gave up a quarterback rating of 69 in the slot, which was the lowest passer rating of any nickelback who got targeted at least 30 times. So, okay, you want to move him outside. What do you think? Is this going to work out? Is this the best move for the defense? Saleh's a smart guy. I'm sure he has a vision here.
I think Demo can do either or. I think he can play nickel. I think he can play outside. I mean, I don't recall a time when he was, because he didn't always play in the nickel.
He
So
do both.
he does both. And I don't remember a time like, man, this guy's getting cooked on the outside. Like he always seems to be fine. I remember I watched the Cowboys game in person, and there were times when he wasn't playing nickel in that Cowboys game. I think he even got an interception off Dak on the outside. So, and again, you said it about Saleh. Saleh, to me, trust him when it comes to these decisions. I think you need to have, is he saying he's exclusively going to play on the outside, or what is he saying?
Well, he hasn't really explained it too much, but from what I saw at OTAs and minicamp, he was exclusively playing on the outside, and the guys in the slot are Trey Brown and Upton Stout. Now, this kind of reminds me of like when Steve Wilkes became the defensive coordinator. He did something similar. I don't exactly remember what Lenore did in 2022. He may have played some slot under D'Amico, but they still had Jimmy Ward and K'Wan Williams. So Wilkes come here and he urges the Niners to sign Isaiah Oliver. And it seems like a good idea until Isaiah Oliver's so bad and gets picked on so much. They don't really have a choice but to move Lenore back in the slot. And I wonder if that's going to happen this year. It's like you might want to move him out of the slot, but if Trey Brown is getting worked and Upton Stout isn't ready yet, then what choice do you have?
I mean, I don't think there's any doubt that Diamador Lenore is probably the best corner on this team. So I feel like in those situations, you got to have him on your best man. And
Thank
that's
you.
the role.
I was going to
That's
go
the
there.
role. Yeah, that's the role he's taken on this year with Tarvarius Ward's gone. He's
Mhm.
got to do it. They just don't have the depth. Now, if they signed another corner, maybe they can experiment with it. But I think they got to find a solution at nickel while they have Diamador Lenore on the back.
Yeah, like if they're playing the Cardinals, you'd want Lenore on Marvin Harrison Jr. And if he's going
Right.
to play X receiver on the left side of the Cardinals formation, then you want Lenore on the right side of the Niners defense. If they're playing the Seahawks and their number one receiver is is Jackson Smith and Jig, but I got the wrong Ohio State guy. He's playing in the slot, then you want Lenore in the slot, right?
Right.
If you're
Right.
going up against the Rams, then you want him against Puka Nacua. I think
Yeah.
that's probably the best way to do it.
Yeah, and a lot of times in the past, it feels like 49ers always had most of the time, they just played a side of the field, right?
Mhm.
But I'm in favor if I'm a defensive coach of follow the best guy. Best corner follows the best guy. I think that makes the most sense in my opinion. I'm not an expert, big giant X's and O's guy, but that's what I would do, and I think that's what they should do with Demo, regardless of where the guy lines up.
Yeah, I think Demo's entering that stage of his career where he's earned some respect. He's entering his prime. He's 25. I think quarterbacks would rather not test him. So why just put him on one side of the field where you can ignore him? I mean, if you just put him on the left side of the field, You have the middle and the right to work to. So you can you can ignore him. He can have no impact. He can be doing his job and shutting down a third of the field, and you could be losing.
Yeah,
So I wouldn't let that happen, especially when Renardo Green. I mean, he could be great, or he could be this year's Jair Brown. You don't know. He started 7
right.
games, and then you other guy, yeah, Trey Brown.
Yeah.
He's been in the league for like 5 years. Was he suddenly going to be great? Or the 5'8" DB from Western Kentucky? Maybe he won't be great right away. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why I never understood, playing sides of the field unless you have 2 corners that are both hella good or, like, the same skill level or something like that, then maybe it makes sense to keep it simple for them. But when you have differences in talent, especially I think with Demo and Ronaldo Green, you want your best corner on the best receiver. Otherwise, if you're an offensive play caller, you're just dialing everything up for one side of the field. So I think Demo should move wherever the best player is, and I hope that's what Saleh actually does.
Yeah, I just think it's kinda interesting how coordinators come to the team. So they wanna put their stamp on something. They have ideas. And, by week 2, by halftime of week 1, you could throw that stuff out. I think that's what happened with Wilkes. They had Isaiah Oliver week 1, and by the second half, I think in Pittsburgh, he was on the bench, and they had, like, Ambry Thomas out wide and Lenore in the slot or something like that, out
Yeah.
wide. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
because the thing
Oliver
about
warning
it,
you, man.
if you put Demo at nickel, who would you have on the outside besides
That's a
Ronaldo?
great question. W I Does Darrell Luter Jr. suck? He's never ever gotten an opportunity, and I feel like the Niners have had plenty of examples of 5th round picks at cornerback that they didn't give a real look to, went on to be good elsewhere, like Samuel Womack and DJ Reed. So I'd
E
like to see him.
exactly. And the new, Stout, he's so small, brother, I almost feel like you have to put him at nickel, but I will say a lot of the times sometimes you have these big body nickels. Like, if you have Juwan Jennings at nickel and you put, like, Stout on him, that's not gonna work, right? So, just depends on matchups. I think they need to be, flexible with how they approach defense, this coming season, 'cause I'm not a big believer on any of their depth at corner. Outside of Demo and Ronaldo Green, I don't know what to expect from Luter, Brown, Dallas Flowers, a guy they picked up, and then Trey Avery, Derrickson Canteen, Jacob Robinson. I don't even know who these guys are. Tyree Neal. So I think you got to play with Demo wherever the best guy is, and then have Ronaldo Green on the other guy, and then you're gonna have to figure it out. Stout to me looks like a nickel.
Yeah, it seems strange. Like, do you really expect Stout to be better than Lenore in the slot? I don't. That's a tough one. So you're gonna downgrade in the slot? Why? I don't know. I mean, I could see Luter being a really good outside corner because he has the size and the speed. But Stout, I don't see how he could possibly be better than Lenore in the slot
Are,
unless he's like an incredible blitzer or run defender.
are they playing? What do you think Salah's gonna do? More zone, man? Both?
I mean, I think he's going to play a lot of zone on first and second down, and then on third down, I think he'd like to be able to play man so he can bring pressure and stuff like that. But you need 3 good corners to pull that off. And if Trey Brown's out there, if Upton Stout's out there, if Darrell, I mean, they only really have 1 proven corner. Renardo could be 2, and then we'll see if they have a third. And if you don't have 3 you trust, then you kind of have to play. Well, I don't know.
Because I
Unless you
think
feel comfortable that guy's not going to get burned.
it makes a difference to me. I think on zone they're gonna be fine. When they have to go man, that's when those, you know, weaknesses will pop up. So, like, you go in the zone, you got the guys on the inside, you got Fred on the inside helping as well, the safeties. So, I think it's gonna be more of a concern on man. And, again, that's why I'm very surprised they haven't signed another corner. Last year was one of the strongest positions on the team. Coming into this year, it looks like it might be, one of the biggest concern. And
Yeah,
to be fair, um, as much as I like Lenore, he's one of my favorite players. He's never been that guy. He's never been a DB1, so we don't even know what he's gonna look like there. I mean, I 100% believe in him. He's played fantastic, but it's new for him outside of a couple games when Tarveri's been in play.
yeah. I mean, most true number 1 corners are at least 5'11", 6 feet. He's 5'10", which doesn't mean he's too short, but there's certain matchups are going to be tough with. And like, we talk about him being the slot. Well, what if the Niners are facing Minnesota in a playoff game? Can you put him on Justin Jefferson all day and feel good about that? Or how's he going to do? Can he hold his own? Or is he just another guy who's going to get worked by Justin Jefferson? I don't know.
One of the questions coming into this season. This season, I'm literally looking forward to this season. There's a lot of unknown factors coming into this season, and that's one of them.
Let's talk another unknown factor. Brock Purdy, he had an MVP he won his here, let me give you a stat for Brock Purdy. Okay. So he takes over. He wins every game. That the first season was like 8. He gets hurt in the first drive of the NFC Championship game. Kind of hard to call that a loss. So let's put that to the side. Then he wins his first 5 starts in 2023. So he was undefeated, essentially, for 3/4 of a season. Since his first loss, where he started and ended the game against Cleveland, in Cleveland, the Niners are 15-14 when Brock plays. And again, wins and losses aren't a quarterback stat. You just think if a quarterback was truly a franchise quarterback and he wasn't getting paid money, that the team would be much more successful, winning more games. I mean, they won like 70% of their games with Jimmy Garoppolo, who wasn't even a starter and was overpaid. So, I don't know, like, what do you make of that? And do you think that this is going to be a bounce back year for Brock Purdy where he gets back to winning a lot and posting MVP-esque numbers?
I think it's heavily dependent on 2 guys more so than Purdy. I think we know who Purdy is. Purdy's going to find his success through the offense and through having Christian McCaffrey on his side. So, is Kyle going to be in his bag this year? Is Christian McCaffrey going to be healthy? If those 2 things are true, if those 2 things are yeses, then I think Brock will absolutely have a bounce back season. Is Ricky Pearsall as good as they hope he's going to be? Because he's going to have to burden the load quite a bit, especially early. No Brandon Ayuk. So I really think to answer this question, to me, I like Brock. I think he's a good quarterback, but not amazing, not an elite quarterback that's going to carry the team. So the answer to this question is, how is everyone around him going to look? Is his protection going to be good? Is Brandon Ayuk going to come back and be good? Ricky Pearsall going to step up and do well? Is Christian McCaffrey going to stay healthy? Is Kyle Shanahan going to be in his bag, dialing it up for Brock? Is he going to let George Kittle run routes, or is he going to make him a blocker? Like, that's what. If Brock's going to have a bounce back season, is because everything around him is cooking, just like it was in 2023.
Yeah, that's why. Like, I agree with you. I think we know who Brock is. I don't think that he's necessarily like up and down, but the situation around him is. And if we're talking about a bounce back season, I think we're probably talking about statistics and production to a certain degree. His production was great the first 2 seasons. His production last year was Jimmy Garoppolo-esque. I mean, 20 touchdowns, 12 picks. Jimmy's done that. 6 wins, 9 losses. What? I mean, again, it's not a quarterback stat, but Tua's never had a losing season. And when Justin Herbert had that one losing season, people got like head coach got fired mid-season. Their defense was giving up 70 points in a game. You just don't really think that this would happen. So, look, he could have a bounce back season. Christian's back, but I don't really expect it to be the same Christian. The offensive line isn't better. It's probably worse. And Ayuk, we don't know when he's coming back. Without Ayuk last year, they were 3-7. Now, there were other guys who were out too, but even if he's not playing his best, he's a threat, and he makes things easier for everyone. So I kind of expect more of the same, maybe a little bit better because Christian's back. But they also, I mean, they also lost Mason, Banks, Moore. I mean, I don't know.
If Christian's back and healthy, I think they'll be fine. I think that's the thing. But also, I mean, you got to consider, I mean, who is going to be your starting wide receivers for the first 3 games? Because Demarcus Robinson has that been announced yet? Is he suspended officially?
They still haven't announced it yet.
Okay, so most likely he's going to be suspended, I would imagine. So it's on Jawan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall to start the season. We know what Jawan gives you. He's a great contested catcher, great blocker, tough dude. But he's not like a burner. He's not going to, out. And he's not going to run routes on dudes and get open. Ricky Pearsall, He
He's
looked
kind of the
okay.
Lenore of the offense. Like, are you really a number one?
Right. That's what's
Yeah.
going on right now, and then
Yeah.
who do we have beyond that? Is Jordan Watkins, the rookie, that guy? Is Jacob
Mm.
Cowan in his sophomore season gonna step up and become that guy?
And if
Or
not, what do you got?
what do you have, right? You don't have much. I think Demarcus Robinson is a proven asset. Even with Brandon Ayuk, we know what Brandon Ayuk was before this injury, but how long is it gonna take him to get back to what he was if he ever does? So, like, there's a lot of unknown there as well. Like, are one of these younger dudes gonna step up? Isaiah Nair, Junior Bergen, Isaiah Hodgins, like, one of these guys out of nowhere, are they gonna step up? Again, this Niners season, man, the schedule looks easy, and I think a lot of people are getting confident because of it. Um, but, like, there's so many unknowns.
And you brought up one thing earlier that I think I wanted to say till the end because it's going to transition to our next topic. But Kyle, I think this is very much a Kyle Shanahan question because Brock is only allowed to do so much. I mean, he doesn't have that many choices to make. He gets a couple of plays, he chooses between them at the line of scrimmage, and he executes. Uh, I think what he was asked to do last year seemed difficult. There were a lot of throws down the field into coverage. There weren't a lot of easy throws. That was a departure from what the offense looked like in the past with Brock and especially with Jimmy Garoppolo. So, yeah, I mean, I think Brock's efficiency is going to be highly tied to Kyle. Like, you look at Baker Mayfield, his efficiency really spiked last year. He was a guy who's always talented, but his numbers weren't always the best. And then all of a sudden last year with Liam Cohn and Tampa, it was like 71% completions, 40 touchdowns, just like a really, really elite quarterback. Well, if you look at his numbers, he completed 100 passes to running backs and completed 90% of those attempts with no picks. That's a really great way to make a quarterback efficient. Whereas Brock completed 45 passes to running backs. And it's funny because you and I used to call him a dink and dunk guy and a check down merchant, but it's like he needs double the checkdowns that he had last year. And that's not on him. It's on Christian and it's on Kyle. Well, it's
Well,
on Brock to an extent. You got to check it down, dude. Stop trying to be Josh Allen.
I mean, that's the thing too, right? Last year, he was playing for, like,
It's
everyone
your
that
fault.
went down around him. He's playing for a contract,
Yeah.
right? He's trying to go out there and prove people like me and you incorrect about their
Mhm.
assessment, and by in that process, overdid it. Now, and he even talked about it. I went back and looked at my year one film, and just getting back to my footwork and just taking what the offense gives me. That's what he needs to get back to. So hopefully that's
Mhm.
all that was. But there is another side to this too. This is the first time Brock Purdy has played as the established franchise quarterback after getting paid. What is that going to look like for Brock Purdy? Is he going to be more confident? Is he going to be more relaxed? Or does he feel like, now I got something to prove because I'm making this much money? So those are more questions coming into this.
Does he change? I mean, I saw it with Kaepernick a little bit. Like sometimes when you're the young quarterback trying to take a starting job away from a vet like Kaepernick with Smith or Brock with Jimmy, you kind of endear yourself to certain vets and get them on your side and you're strategic and charming or whatever. And then you get the job and the contract and you start barking orders at people like you're Tom Brady. I mean, is that authentic? Do people let you do that? I wonder. I mean, Brock's always been a demanding quarterback, but I wonder if I'm just curious. It's a good question. Does
Kittle
he
said it.
change? I don't think
Kittle
he's gonna be
said it.
buying things, but does he change his demeanor on the field in the huddle because he's now the man?
George Kittle said he's even more uh, vocal
He
than he
did.
was in the past. So
Mhm.
already he's, I don't know if he's evolving, growing, or changing. I don't know how you want to categorize it, but it's different than what we've seen in the past. Is he going to get to a point where he's, you know, talking back to Kyle, overriding Kyle? He makes 3, 4 times what Kyle makes now, if not 5 times. So it's different dynamic. Another question coming into the season. This
Yeah,
is an
is he gonna
exciting
show up a
season.
teammate after an interception if he wants to the cameras to understand that it wasn't his fault? Things like that. We've seen
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers with all of his bad body language for years. This
Mhm.
sometimes just because you get older and you get richer doesn't necessarily mean you get wiser and more mature. That being said, I feel like Brock Purdy was wiser and more mature than Aaron Rodgers when Brock Purdy was 15 years old. So it's hard to say.
I got a prediction. We're gonna see
Yeah.
Brock Purdy checking a receiver. It'll be literally checking a receiver during the game this year. That's
He
one of
one
my
of his own.
huh?
One of his own. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
He did it in OTA's minicamp. He was like, he threw a pass behind Juwan Jennings and made it real clear on the field that Jennings ran the wrong route. Or like, no, I think it was like too far in front of Juwan. And I think he told Juwan he needed to like run faster or something. Like, okay,
Yeah.
sure.
You're gonna see it.
Or you
You're
could
gonna
throw a
see
better
it.
pass. I don't know.
Yeah, something's gonna happen where it wasn't done correctly. It's gonna be an interception or incompletion, and you'll see Brock be like, "Hey, dude," like, get in somebody's face a little bit. I think that's something that we can see from Brock.
All right. Follow-up question. We alluded to this person before, but Kyle Shanahan. Will Kyle Shanahan have a bounce back season this year? I feel like last year was one of his worst years ever. And it wasn't just like, I mean, in every way, uh, the leadership from the Ricky Pearsall stuff early on to the politics to the fight to Devondre Campbell, it just felt like he was detached the whole season and still kind of in a cloud and a daze from losing the Super Bowl, which I semi understand, but that's over with now. So,
Yeah.
from a leadership standpoint, from an offensive play calling standpoint, will he have a bounce back season?
Leadership, I would say not really, but I mean, outside of maybe being more optimistic, at least early off, if everyone stays healthy. Because I think those vibes that he was putting off affected the whole team. I kinda see it, in the body language of Kyle and everybody on the team. So, from a leadership standpoint, maybe. From an offensive play calling standpoint, I would assume so. He's had the entire offseason, no playoffs. That's 2 extra months for him to relax and then come back and get excited again about coaching football. He didn't seem like real thrilled to be out there last year. It looked like he was burnt out after the Super Bowl loss. It's his 3rd Super Bowl loss, once as a coordinator, twice as a head coach. It's gotta be hard on him, but now he's had some time to relax, recuperate, and hopefully he's learned things. Um, you can't count on Christian McCaffrey to bail you out. Like, there was an article, I forget who wrote it, talking about how Christian opened up the entire offense for Kyle Shanahan. Those Kyle Shanahan words, like, Christian opens up our offense. So I think he relied on Christian, and that was his crutch. But last year, he saw what happens if he doesn't have him, and he can't come into this season just relying that Christian's gonna be healthy, and if he doesn't, we're screwed. He can't have that mentality. His mentality has to be like, hopefully Christian's good, but if he's not, I got a plan for that. And so I do think he'll have a bounce back season. I think he'll be more prepared and more
Yeah, it seemed like he was he seems like the kind of guy who doesn't adjust that quickly. Like we've seen it if Debo goes down mid-game, Kyle's like, "Oh, that was my whole game plan. I don't know what to do. I'll figure it out
Right.
on Tuesday." Like, nah. But that's him, right? And with Christian, it felt like the plan was to use Christian as much in 2024 as they did in 2023. And surprisingly or not, right before the season started, he went down for like the whole year. And it seemed like Kyle didn't adjust the offense, didn't do anything didn't have any fresh, cool ideas. It seemed like he was just caught off guard. So he
Yeah.
can't have that. I mean, like he doesn't have that excuse this year. You get an extra month to prepare. You know Debo's gone, so you don't have him pressuring you to give him the ball. You don't have that like red herring to chase. Like, no, forget you're not resuscitating his career. He's gone. Christian is back, but you also know what happened last year, and you know that if you overuse him, that the team is screwed, and you're trying to prepare for like a way to still use him, but probably not as much. So I
Yeah.
think you're right. Like he should have more than enough time to build a new offense, a new plan that's best for this group in 2025. And I'm like confident that he's going to do a good job at that.
And I think the Debo thing is huge. Having Debo not there is
Yeah.
is gonna change this offense completely, in my opinion. I mean, obviously, they're gonna rely on Christian if he's healthy, but Kyle's Debo Kyle's opinion of Debo was off. I don't know if it's based on the past or his relationship, but he really treated Debo like he was better than he was last year, and you saw it in the production. So having him gone takes away that possibility, which is gonna open up things, hopefully, for this offense. I feel like this offense under Kyle Shanahan has always done better when they have these games. They'll have these games 2 or 3 times a year where the ball gets spread around almost evenly. to where like 6, 7 different receivers are getting involved.
Mhm.
That's when they are at their best. When it's just like a whole Debo game plan, when he was in his
Or
prime, it was
McCaffrey.
fantastic. It worked. But over the last couple of years, it just doesn't seem to be working the same way. So I'm thinking that's one reason to think that Kyle could have a bounce back season this coming.
And this was a long time ago, but again, remember 2019, the first year they made their run, Christian McCaffrey was coming off a torn ACL, and it was not a given that the Niners were going to be the best team in the NFC that year. They like Kyle and Mike McDaniel needed to build a whole plan to keep Jimmy healthy and to get the ball out of his hands. And they did a great job. The two of them. I mean, Jimmy didn't have to do that much that year. He stayed healthy. They won a bunch of games. And there were like a million different ways to get the ball out of his hands really fast. And it
Yeah.
felt like opposing defenses, their heads were spinning. They didn't know where the ball was coming from, who was going to run it. And I'd like to see Kyle show that he can do that without Mike McDaniel. I mean, the last couple of years, what you did was give the ball to Christian as much as possible. And when you weren't giving it to Christian, give the ball to Debo. And then Brock would sometimes, you know, go off script and give the ball to someone else when you didn't call, but like essentially it was the Christian and Debo show. That's over with. So what's your new idea? It's not give the ball more to 32-year-old George, probably. I mean, you've always been kind of leery of overusing him. There's only so much you can do with Jawan Jennings. What's the new wrinkle going to be? I'm sure you got one, and I'm excited to see it because I feel like the season depends on it.
I think they're gonna try to make it Ricky. I think that's what they're gonna try to do. I mean, he was their first round draft pick last year, and they have to replace Ayuk because he's not gonna be there. And honestly, I don't think they see a long term future with Ayuk. Could be wrong. He could bounce back and be with the Niners for life. Who knows? But that's just my intuition, my gut right now. So I think they want to prove that drafting Ricky in the first round last year was not a mistake and that it was the right decision. And I'm sure they probably like him. So we'll see what happens. But I think Ricky's probably heavily in the plans for the 49ers.
I agree. I just think the problem is that the Niners passing game is like I mean, it's predictable. Like I think everyone knows, even with Brock, he's different than Jimmy, but with the way Kyle calls plays, he's still going to be calling the play action pass with the dig route over the middle. Like that's the whole basis of the passing game. And they're going to do that a lot. And they're going to force those throws in there. And those are risky throws because you're thrown into traffic, over linebackers, in front of safeties. If you're off a little bit, if you misread it, you turn your back, you come back, pick. So I'd like to see him mix it up more. Like, I feel like Ben Johnson and Liam Cohn and some of these younger guys have sort of taken what Kyle have done and added to it, and he's been a little stale. A lot of people have good play action passing games, but they can add a screen component to it as well, like Sean Payton and Andy Reid and Mike McDaniel. Like Mike McDaniel isn't a good head coach. Like I don't think anyone respects him on his team. I'm sorry. I like Mike McDaniel. Maybe I'm wrong. He doesn't come across as a strong leader. But his playbook kicks fucking ass, dude. He makes Tua look good. He makes things really easy for Tua. Come on, Kyle, you can do that too, right?
I think Mike
Tua.
McDaniel's an offensive coordinator. I really think that's
Yeah.
where he belongs. Kyle really too, honestly. I think
Mm.
if I'm being real, so I don't know. I'm hopeful that Kyle comes with some creativity. Hopefully, he brings in some from some of the coaching staff that have come here, and he's going to have to because you don't have Debo Samuel. I'm so glad that wide back yes is over with because that was a nightmare watching Debo Samuel play running back last year and even towards the end of year prior. So yeah, man, I think Kyle's going to have to do something new if he wants to compete. If not, it's going to be bad.
You said you think it's gonna be Ricky. My bold prediction is that the young player, the new element, the most effective new wrinkle that Kyle's gonna have to figure out how to use
Watch
is Garendo.
Brendo. Yeah.
Garendo.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think he does have a lot in common with Raheem Mostert. I think I see the vision there. He's as fast as Mostert. He's bigger than Mostert. He's not going to be the running back that Christian McCaffrey is. He doesn't have the vision or the ability to make people miss. But in this system, he's going to have some big plays every once in a while, which is going to keep his yards per attempt up. And I think what's really cool about Garendo, even maybe cooler than what Mostert gave you, is the potential as a receiver. I think they kind of tapped into it late last season. You could see he's a terror on wheel routes. He's really fast. He's built like a wide receiver, and he has that experience.
Yeah.
Um, I think he could be the new home run hitter in the offense that Debo was a few years ago. Guy who could
I
score
would
from anyone.
man, he didn't get a ton of play last year,
Right.
but I bet you if you looked at big play per snap,
Mhm,
if that's a statistic,
mhm.
big play per snap, I bet you he's up there towards the top because it seemed like he didn't get a lot of love, but when he did, it was big play after big play. The thing with him is concerning is health, like, gonna be able to stay
Yeah,
healthy. That's my issue with Isaac is he runs so high, he doesn't get have a low pad level, and he gets injured quite a bit. I'm hoping he can lower that pad level and stay healthy because, like you said, phenomenal athlete. That's always just been the issue for him, and that's why Christian is so important for Isaac. I would love to see Kyle Shannon come in and do a 1-2 punch with those guys like you're talking about in the beginning of the show, because I don't think either one of those guys should be shouldering the burden entirely on themselves, based on their history.
that's what I'm saying. Like, I think it's kind of a good situation for both of them. The fact that they're teammates. Like, Christian shouldn't be a bell cow anymore, and Garendo hasn't ever proven that he can be that. So,
Yeah.
isn't it great that they get to potentially keep each other fresh? I mean, what is wrong with that? Look what Tampa did last year
Mhm.
with Bucky Irving and Rashad White. Look what Detroit did last year with Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery. Why can't I understand if you feel you have a Hall of Fame running back, it's Derrick Henry, it's Saquon Barkley, fine. But it's 29-year-old Christian McCaffrey coming off a disaster season. I mean, it's a no-brainer. You gotta be safe here, and your backup is the most explosive player on your team. Like, Kittle's great, Juwan's great, but Garendo's the guy that's gonna replace Debo. That we're on the 15, it's 3rd and 27. How are we gonna get this? Well, maybe the screen to that guy.
Would you be super surprised if Jordan James is the leading rusher for the 49ers this year?
No, I wouldn't be surprised. I like Jordan James. I mean, Christian's got an injury history. Garendo's got an injury history, and what I'm excited about is his role as a receiver in the offense. I think he'll break down if you give him too many carries, but Jordan James isn't going to break down. That looks like the kind of guy that could be, that could play 17 games, run the ball 200, 250 times. I
Yeah.
think he's gonna be really good, and I think he's gonna like, if Christian fades away this year, next year, he could be the one who ultimately becomes a starter, and Garendo's that, like, explosive change of pace guy.
Yeah, and that's, knock on wood, hopefully Christian stays healthy, but if he doesn't for some reason, I hope that's what they do is Jordan James and Garendo are sharing snaps, not just Isaac Garendo, because I just don't think he's an every down back. He's a incredible weapon. I just don't think he's a every down back.
I mean, Mostert wasn't a starter on the Niners, and when they
Yeah.
finally made him a starter, he broke down. So, kind of an interesting parallel there, but I remember what I wanted to say about Christian earlier, about a half hour ago.
Yeah.
It wasn't that brilliant, and plus, I'm just repeating what Bill Simmons said, but he made an interesting point a while ago on The Breakfast Club. He said that, running backs are kinda like porn stars. The shelf life isn't great, kinda when the wall hits, it hits hard,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Wow. I'm
So,
not Oh, yeah. Hey, not gonna touch it,
not
but
gonna touch it. Okay,
not
how
gonna
about
touch
this?
it. Yeah.
Will the 49ers as a team have a bounce back season? We know that their schedule on paper is easier, but that's based off last year's records, and we know that teams go from worst to first all the time and, like, every year in the NFL, so we don't really know how hard their schedule is gonna be. We can see their team on paper. They had some bad luck last year. What do you think? Will they have a bounce back season?
Well, they're not gonna go 6-11. I'd be shocked on that one. So I don't think, as far as that is concerned, are they gonna bounce back and be better than they were last year? Yeah. Yeah, they're not gonna be 6-11. They have the easiest schedule on paper in the NFL. There's some games on here, though, that I think are harder, than people, are expecting. Like, Cleveland, November 30th in Cleveland. That's a loss to me right now. That's a loss to me right now. Like, Brock's gotta get over that playing in bad weather, reputation, and now he's gonna have a good opportunity, and that'll be the last game before the bye week. They'll have played what is how many games is that? 13 games? That'll be the 13th
Damn.
game. It'll be in Cleveland,
Oof.
probably in bad weather. I think that's a loss. Then the other one, I think
People forget that the Niners lost in Cleveland in 2023 when they had that great team. I mean, that team lost to the Browns. PJ Walker.
yeah, to PJ Walker, dude.
Uh-huh.
So, schedule looks easy, but also don't be surprised if by December 28th, the Chicago Bears are a really good team. They invested heavily into their trenches. They got Ben Johnson as their offensive coordinator. I would not be shocked if the Bears game is a loss for the 49ers either.
Yeah. I just feel like, I mean, do I think they're gonna have a bounce back season? Like, I don't even think they think they're gonna have a bounce back season deep down. When John Lynch said that thing about taking lumps, that was such a red flag to me. Because what he's saying essentially is, look, like, well, I can't predict the future. No one knows what's gonna happen, but don't be surprised if we drop a few games early on that we should win. Because we're gonna be starting a bunch of rookies, and it's gonna be like them learning on the job, trial by fire, all that stuff. And hopefully the mistakes that they experience early in the season leads to an accelerated development and an upward trajectory the second half. That sort of
Yeah.
sounded like what he was preparing himself and us for, which sounds like a team that could start 3-6, 3-7, who knows? And then finish strong. Like that's sort of what the Rams did a couple of years ago. Maybe it won't
Yeah.
work out that way, but if you're
I mean,
preparing to start 5 rookies on defense, then you're kind of preparing for some stuff to go sideways early in the season.
yeah, I mean, week 1 against Seattle should be tough. The head coach there is he had the 49ers number when he was the head or the defense coordinator for the Ravens, and what they went 1-1 last year with Seattle,
That's a big
correct?
reason they hired Mike McDonald. What he showed he could
Right.
do against the Shanahan tree.
Yeah, I mean, the 49ers Brock threw 4 interceptions against them when he was
Yeah.
on the Ravens. And then, the Texans, October 26th, like, that's a really good team. I expect them to bounce back, and have a better year than they did last year, even though they made the playoffs second time in a row. I think the Texans are gonna be a better team this coming season than they were last year. So there are a lot of games. The Giants, they're not gonna be good. They're probably gonna be better than they were last year. I mean, best expectations, they lost 2 to the Rams. Hopefully, they go 1-1 against them. Hopefully, they go 2-0 against them, but they're gonna be better. The Cardinals are slowly getting better every single year. So, on paper, it looks like it's a lot easier for the 49ers, but every year is a different beast, and 49ers have a ton of rookies and a ton of unknown, uh, coming into this season.
What's interesting is like on paper last year, if you look at certain stats, the Niners were a great team last year. They had the 4th ranked offense in terms of yards. They had the 8th ranked defense in terms of yards. They gained 6.2 yards per play. They gave up 5.2 yards per play. Generally, teams that are like +1 in that ratio are really good. I think they had the 9th highest graded roster in Pro Football Focus. So, like, there's a lot of reasons to feel optimistic about this team. It's just that they lost all but 1 close game. And you'd say, like, well, maybe that's just fluky. Maybe that's gonna even out this year. Maybe. In which case, they'll probably have a bounce back season. But it seemed like also they lost a close game in the Super Bowl and they kept like repeating history, almost like post-traumatic stress or something. Like, oh my God, here we are again in a close game in the 4th quarter. What do we do? Oh, it's Kyle calling plays. Oh, it's Brock at quarterback. Oh, I already know what's going. Oh, Nick Bosa's it. Okay, I know what's going to happen. It's still us.
It's a very hard to predict season, which also makes it exciting. I mean, just like, they could not be as good as, a lot of people think they are, or they could come out of nowhere and just be ballers. They could have nailed this draft, and this new defensive line that they drafted is gonna be amazing. Like, the loss of Debo is actually gonna be a blessing in disguise. Christian McCaffrey comes back fully and is healthy this year. Like, we never know, man, and it would be really exciting if this is actually the year where the 49ers went all the way and won the thing. I'm not saying that that's what's gonna happen, but it'd be great because it would be out of nowhere, essentially.
I got a question for you.
Mhm.
I think it's clear like the media believes in the Niners. The media believes in Kyle Shanahan. The media believes in Brock. The media believes in their core and Saleh and feels like last year essentially was an aberration. They're going to bounce back. Do you think that the Niners peers feel that way privately? The Cardinals, the Rams, the Seahawks, the teams on their schedule, the other NFL teams. You think they're that teams are scared of the 49ers the way they were 2 years ago?
I would say no, not the way they felt 2 years ago, but I do think they respect them. Scared maybe isn't the right word, but I think they respect the 49ers, and I
They
think
used to be scared of the Niners.
they used to be. Yeah, I don't think you can be scared of a team with this much changeover, coming off a 6-11 seed. But I don't think they're taking them light by any means. I think they fully expect the 49ers to improve upon last year. I don't think NFL teams think the Niners are gonna be 6-11 again this year.
No, I don't think so either. I got one more question, and we'll take some super chats. If the Niners don't bounce back this year, if they miss the playoffs, if things get bad early on in the season because they're starting rookies and they don't pull it together, they just kind of snowball and the wheels fall off. Will Kyle lose personnel power? I mean, will the Yorks finally say, you know what? You got too much power here. Like kind of like Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll got all the power with the Seahawks, and the Seahawks eventually said, you know what? John Schneider's a good GM. We need to let him do his job. Bill Belichick got too much power. There's been examples of coaches who sort of become emperors. Is it possible that that's at stake for Kyle Shanahan? His ultimate power, his final say on personnel?
I don't really see it, honestly. I'm curious as to why you think that might be um, something that could happen. I want to get your take on it. But I think this year, more than any year, he's what 5 defensive players or 4 defensive players the first 4 rounds
Mhm.
this coming season. So I feel like Robert Saleh was involved in that. I'm sure Lynch was involved in that. So I think like this isn't the year where you look at the draft and be like he's too involved. Like this is the one year maybe where he took a step back already. So I don't know if he already lost some, maybe not forcibly, but maybe he backed off and let Saleh. Maybe there was an agreement he made with Saleh prior to the season. But I don't think if they don't succeed this year, I don't think
Mhm.
anyone's gonna be like, oh, that's because Kyle picked 5 defensive players.
Let me tell you why I say that. So Colin Cowherd and John Middlecoff we're doing a show earlier this week, and Cowherd brought it up and was saying like, is it possible that Kyle just has too much power and like, he's been responsible for a lot of these um bad picks, Ricky Pearsall and Trey Lance. And Middlecoff seemed to say that like the way Kyle sets it up on the 49ers is that the coaches essentially make the picks. Not just Kyle, but the coaching staff. And that when
Yeah.
coaches make picks that they're looking at the immediate future, not like the 3-year plan or the 5-year plan, and they are always looking to fill spots in the depth chart. So you need a
Mhm.
starter, I got to get a starter. I don't need a starter, okay, I'm not going to plan for a starter in 2 years. I'll get a kicker. And I think we saw that this year, like, that was very much a Robert Saleh draft. If it doesn't work out, I mean, we like the players because they fit Robert Saleh's vision and his scheme, but we also admit that he reached for, like, 4 of them. If they
I
don't
don't even
work
know if I
out.
like the players yet, right? Like,
Exactly.
right? We don't know
Yeah.
that yet.
We don't
Yeah.
know that. I mean, we wanna like him, I guess, but
Right.
Nick Martin was a reach, Upton Stout was a reach, Alfred Collins was a reach. So, if it doesn't work out, maybe the Yorks say, maybe John Lynch says, "Hey, guys, would it be all right if you let me do my job and I can sort of lean on Tariq Ahmad and RJ Gillen and like this incredible front office we have?" Because right now, the way that it's structured is they do all the work and then the coaches come in at the last minute and they're like, "Okay, we're gonna read through it real quick. Okay, thank you for doing. All right, this is who we like. This is who we like. This is who we like." Like, nah,
Yeah.
let the guys who did the work make the picks.
I think most coaches, excuse me, if they had a 6-11 season and had anything close to it the following season, didn't make the playoffs, they'd probably be fired. I
Mhm.
think with Kyle, he has a little bit longer leash than that. But if he has a repeat of what happened last season, Lynch could possibly step in here and be more of a factor during the draft. But if he has a repeat of what happened last season, they probably won't fire him, but he'll be on the hot seat big time, like a hot ass MFC for the following season, right?
Yeah, I mean, if they struggle this year and you're just like, wow, 2 years in a row, maybe Kyle isn't the coach we thought he was. Like, why was this team so good for so long? Why? Let's go back and examine. Well, the roster was incredible. I think we all can agree about that. In 2023, they had 9 players in the top 100 of the league. Well, how did the roster get so good when they had so many mistakes high in the draft? How did that happen? Is Kyle an incredible personnel guy, or did he get lucky with Brock Purdy? Did he get lucky with George Kittle? I mean, there's been some late picks that really bailed out this front office and this coaching staff. And then also there's been some examples of the owners stepping up and spending big money for players who were established. Like Jed York came out and said that Kyle didn't want Christian McCaffrey. Remember when he said that? He was like, I don't know. I didn't want Christian McCaffrey, but Jed was like, no, if we don't get him, the Rams are going to get him. So I wonder if the Yorks feel like, well, with all the money we were spending and the players that we brought in, a lot of coaches could have had success. And now it's a great opportunity for you to show what a great coach you are, and you can't do it. I wonder. Again, it hasn't happened yet. Maybe they're going to go 14-3 this year.
If you think about it, Fred, Brock, Kittle, they're all late round.
Jawan.
Successes, Jawan. And then the other ones, Christian and Trent, were traded for. Right. Known quantity. Yeah. So they really haven't done a great job in the early rounds.
Bosa was a layup.
Yeah, Bosa was a no-brainer. So that one, got to give them. They did the right thing and got Bosa and Brandon Ayuk. I think Brandon Ayuk, was the best pick by the 49ers in the first round because it was something that a lot of people probably didn't recognize. I think that was the best pick they've ever made in the first round.
And it felt like a Kyle pick, and it all worked out. And then now it's not necessarily something that they're proud about, or I don't know.
Yeah, interesting.
You know what I mean? Like, is the Brandon Ayuk thing in the positive or negative section of the Kyle Shanahan resume? I don't know anymore.
It should be positive because they're on second contract now, right? So they got their draft pick worth from Brandon Ayuk. I would assume that's the thought process. Now the second contract, that's a different thing, and I think Kyle's responsible for that, right? Kyle's the one that ran upstairs and said, "Don't trade him, sign him." Yeah. So I mean, there are some definite personnel questions when it comes to Kyle Shanahan, and he can't have a repeat to last season when they were 6-11. Can't be anything close to that. They have to make the playoffs, or else his days are numbered.
I think his days as the personnel czar with the Niners are numbered, and I think that's why Jake Moody's still on the team, because Kyle can't afford to get any more wrong. And as soon as he cuts Jake Moody, that's another one in the wrong section, a big one. So if he could somehow salvage Jake Moody, that would be great for his stock as the de facto GM.
Don't forget, most coaches and GMs, if they did what the 49ers did for Trey Lance, would have been fired. Like, if you trade 3 first-round draft picks and a third for a quarterback, and he's not even on your team 2 years later, you're gonna get
fired and out of the league. Like, you're done. You're not running football teams anymore.
Yeah, you're like, did you see what this guy did? Like the worst trade in damn near NFL history possible.
Yeah.
Not that I'm not saying Trey is the worst quarterback enough, but trading 3 first-rounders and a third for Trey Lance, who never really even played for your team and wasn't even on your team after 2 years, 3 years, it's horrible. So these guys are lucky to be employed, and the reason why they still are is because they were able to have success regardless. But that was bad.
It was really bad. Let's take some super chats. Tommy Huxley says, putting the best slot corner outside is stupid. He's good outside too, but I'm curious about that one. Sheridan Milestone says, sign Justin Simmons. Pinnock and Richie Grant have never cracked a 75 overall in Madden. Why not make a move if the Super Bowl is at the home field? That's what I don't understand. Like, why is this the year? You have cap space, you have the Super Bowl, you have the AFC South and the NFC South on your schedule. This is the year where you take your foot off the gas? I don't get that.
You know what? But Kyle, I was just thinking about this. Kyle was burnt out. I mean, last season because of all the Super Bowl losses. Maybe the Jed York is just burnt out of spending all this damn money and getting no result.
That's fair.
A human response, right?
It is a human response. And you think of like sports owners as guys who just are supposed to fork over cash, but billionaires didn't become billionaires by being careless with money.
Right.
And they were kind of careless with their money last year. It's a
Yep.
predictable overcorrection.
That was his loss. Super Bowl.
Hey, you want more money for your team, Kyle? Do you know how much money we spent last year on Brandon Ayuk and Devondre Campbell and Leonard Floyd and Malik Collins and all these guys that you said you had to have to go 6-11, 6-11. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
make it work, Kyle, with the rookies.
Right.
Yeah. The Dangerous Dave's Jeeping trip says, my guys. I missed the beginning. I'll go back. It was so good. The first 45 minutes. No, that was a half an hour ago. Lamont 757 says, guys, please, if you haven't already, watch this offseason of Jim Harbaugh mic'd up at minicamp, especially with his attention to his quarterbacks and even more Trey Lance. You see why Cap was so great. Step up Kyle Shanahan. I'd love to see that. Is that on YouTube?
I'm gonna go watch.
Yeah, I remember watching Harbaugh pump Kyle Shanahan full of confidence was the C word I was looking for. Confidence for 2 years.
You know, the number one thing that I said the whole time with Trey Lance was he just lacked confidence.
Yeah.
You know, confidence comes from, success also. But it's a big part of coaching.
If your coach believes in you, that helps. If your coach doesn't believe in you, that hurts.
Yeah. Right. So, I mean, that's the best thing for Trey Lance isn't, to me, in the best situation possible.
Isn't he younger than Brock Purdy?
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. Interesting. Dangerous Dave's Jeeping Trip says, appreciate you all for checking out the Jeep commercials. Haha, love you guys. Love the chat. I get in when I can. No, honestly, I was watching his video. It's really cool. Like the Jeep commercials always like that, right? Like it's never a Jeep on the freeway. It's like, oop, taking a right turn. Oh, going on a cliff. And it looks cool, but it's like no one ever actually does that. Oh, but Dave does. And it looked like so much fun. I want to do stuff like that with Dave.
Fun. I don't know if I want to, Dave. I'm an old man. I just like, relaxing, drive the Benz on the street personally.
He found snow in June. Is that what Montana's like? It's crazy, man.
Yeah, you go up high now.
I feel it'll be a struggle to get 9 wins. They better freaking find a way to get 9 wins. I don't think anyone's going to give them any excuses if they win 8 games.
No, I mean 8 games is nah. I mean,
Brock got hurt. I don't care. You got Mac Jones. Win 8 games.
You just paid your quarterback a ton of money. This is year 9 for Kyle Shanahan. You just went 6-11. The patience is going to wear thin. I think with everybody, fans and even ownership, 8 wins is not acceptable.
No. Well, look, we got 1,000 people watching. I appreciate your continued support through the dead period of the offseason. It's July 7th. Rookies report in 8 days.
Oh, we're like a month away from preseason game.
We're like a month away from preseason games. We're
Don't
like
they have
2
the Hall of
weeks
Fame
away.
game? Hall of Fame game's like what? The end of July.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well, I'm heading out of town for the next week or so, trying to get in a little workcation before the season starts, but I'll still be streaming early in the morning. I won't be able to make the 4-man front tomorrow. I'm going to be driving. I forgot to tell people that. So I got to take my one. But I mean, Jesse was in Bora Bora for like 2 weeks, so I figure I can skip around and I'll be back.
Yeah.
Sean Broad says Ryan's wife's soap is amazing.
Let's
Man,
go.
I was nervous to finish that sentence, but it got good.
Yes. Yeah, my wife hit up the wife. Tassina, Tasina, soap.com. Hit her up, man. Best soap I've ever used in my life.
That's dope. I got to get some too. I'm going to buy some. Ryan, I'm 2 years younger than you, says Dangerous Dave's Jeeping.
Hey, if you act like you got a young man's mind. I meant that.
All right, guys. I'll see you from the road. I'll be streaming from the road. I'm sure the Niners will start doing all kind of stuff as soon as I leave the house. So that's how way it goes. Ryan, good to see you, as always.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Take care.